Hello. Hi. Okay. I think we're good. It's like kind of wiggling a little bit. That's probably annoying. All right. Can everyone hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up in the chat? Since I am outside and I'm not using headphones because it's really nice out. I hope it's really nice for you all are. Um, so while we're waiting for people to join, can you go ahead and put your location in the chat? So where you are, maybe give me some info. Do you already have a service dog? Are you looking to get a service dog? Just some general info about you. That would be awesome as we get started here. All right, and I'm looking in the chat here. What to do if or when uncontrolled dogs attack a working service dog on leash. Healing downstays as dog Russian attack. Yeah, I mean, so let's talk about that first. So what do we do when dogs attack generally? The hard part is that there's not a ton to do. Like when you're being attacked by a thing, yes, there are ways that you can defend yourself. So, one of the ways that's pretty effective for moderate, like low to moderate attacks. So a dog that isn't bent on, offing, like unaliving you and your animal, is using something like citronella spray. So that's going to not hurt the dog that's coming, but it's going to distract them from it. So that would be like a dog that, again, isn't like going to try and actually have a fight with your dog. That works really, really well. My dad's a guide dog user, and obviously it's very scary to, it's always scary to be rushed by a dog. It's very scary when you're blind and being rushed by a dog and can't see him. And he's effectively employed that citronella spray a couple of times so I'll put a link. I'll try and find a link for that. Citronella spray for dogs. I can't remember the exact name of it. Spray shield, that's what it is. Okay, so that can be really effective if you go ahead and carry that with you all the time. Other things like sometimes they happen, and the more calm you can be about it, the better. Throwing food at the dog, yelling sit at the dog sometimes helps, but every situation is different, right? A lot of times when I'm in the woods, I carry a big, it's called a hike and strike. It's a stick with some electricity to it that can be used against anything. I've been attacked by deer in the woods. That's super scary. So it really depends on the situation, and it's hard to predict that. Michael, I'm gonna mispronounce his last name. I can't. It's like Shikasio. I'm gonna mess that up, but I believe he has a dog attack, like a free resource for that. So I would check that out for those situations. All right. Hello, people are joining. I got Carol from a small town in Central California, Taylor from a small town in Iowa. Let's see who else. Mary says Mike is great. Yeah, it's Shikasi. I'm definitely gonna mispronounce that. So sorry, Mike. But I believe he has a free resource on dog attack stuff. Okay, so if you are just joining, let me know where you are and where you are in your service dog journey. Let's see. I have a self-trained English Golden that I use for mobility. Awesome. Okay, from Ash. I'm a big fan of your methods. Question: when capturing, I can't figure out how to go from marking the behavior to adding a cue and gesture to it. Do you have advice? Yeah, so when we're talking about capturing, so for those of you that aren't familiar with Shikashio, thank you, Mary. Those of you that aren't familiar with capturing is when a dog is already doing a behavior and we're simply marking and reinforcing that behavior, because anything that we reinforce, a dog will do more of. So if I have a dog, so this is how I taught the bang trick the first time, or the belly trick, whatever you want to call it. So I basically mark when the dog flops over on its side. When it's like end of the night, they're going to flop on their side. I mark it. I throw the food. He goes back. He lays on his side. I mark it. I throw the food. When you get your behavior loop, so what does a loop look like? It looks like there is no latency between when the dog eats the food and when they start doing the thing again. So in the example of the play dead trick, if my dog he lies on his side, I click, I toss the food away, he eats the food, he comes back, immediately lays on his side and does that in a loop 5 or 6 times. Then right before he goes to lay on his side again, that's when I'm going to add the verbal cue to it. So, but if my dog is like sniffing around, unsure, I'm not going to add the verbal until I have that nice clean loop. All right. Let's see. Another Iowa person. We got Taylor with a 10-month-old Cavalier Shih Tzu. Becky from Oklahoma. Hey, Becky. We got a self-trained dog in southeast Wisconsin. Super. Ocean City. How do you know when to move to the next stage of training? Oh, it's getting windy here. My girl Dove is very smart and picks up things. Yeah, so that really depends on the dog, and it depends on the skill that you're training. But generally, if they're getting something right, like 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to up the skill level so that they don't get bored. Generally, when we're talking about service dogs, we're talking about pretty bright dogs that don't like repetition. Most dogs don't really like repetition. There's dogs that tolerate repetition, but most of them don't like it. So if my dog is getting it right 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to level up the skill. We just had like a big bird land in the tree there. Not big bird, like a hawk, but All right, let's see what else we got for questions. Second year with my dog, self-trained from Aaron. Awesome. The Yukon. Okay. Eddie from Maryland. I have an 8-month-old black lab I'm training. Oh, also, if y'all are on my Patreon and I don't get the connection between YouTube and Patreon, I'm so sorry. I am terrible with names in general, and then making cross-platform, I'm so bad. So don't think that I don't know who you are. I'm just really terrible at that stuff. Okay. Massachusetts, someone from Tennessee. Okay. Let's see. Puppy is almost 6 months old now and doing much better on loose leash walking on a long line. Thank you for your video about how to teach them not to pull. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, if anyone needs help with loose leash walking, I have a full 6 video resource on that in my playlist that shows exactly the steps and the philosophy that I use to teach loose leash walking. Of the skills that I teach, it's probably the one that I excel at because I've had to do it for so long. Okay, Taylor says, okay, thank you. I don't think she likes repetition. Yeah, most dogs don't. Yeah. Let's see. I'm having trouble with getting my dog to calm down when it comes to training. She's jumping all over, trying to put everything in her mouth. That sounds like a young dog to me. So for that, we need to train at the right time. So we need to set the dog up for success. So a lot of times if the dog is super rowdy, I might take them out. It got so sunny. It was supposed to be cloudy. I'll take them out for walk, exercise, something like that before I start training to bring their energy level down a bit. And then I'll work on, some impulse control skills. So the It's Your Choice game from Susan Garrett, or clamshell game, some people call it, where they're having to, oh my gosh, I might have to move. Where you've got food in your hand and the hand is open when they're not trying to get the food. As soon as they go to get the food, your hand closes, open, close, open, close. You can play that game, dropping food down and teaching patience, and then just making sure that we're not asking too much of the dog, because sometimes we can get jumping and mouthing and stuff when the dog is frustrated. So we may need to decrease the criteria for that dog. All right, next question. Are there only certain types of dogs that can be service dogs? Can small breeds be service dogs? Absolutely. Small breeds. This is so windy. I did not anticipate this. Small breeds can definitely be service dogs, and small breeds can make really good service dogs. I'm not as well-versed in training small breeds for service work, mostly because that's the people that I generally work with need tasks that require a larger dog. So, but they absolutely can be. That makes sense. Thank you so much for your advice. Let's see. Do you have a tip for what to do with non-looping behaviors? I'm trying to capture shake and yawn, and those happen sporadically. Yeah, you just have to keep trying to capture them when you can. Keep your reinforcement with you so you can capture them. I captured sneezing, and that one was pretty hard, but I knew that if it was sunny and we got into the car, he would generally sneeze. So we got Ashley from North Carolina, small town in Iowa. My 8-month-old is with me to save supportive places. What can I do to build confidence? So I'm actually going to be including that in my new course that I'm working on. So I'm working on a course on raising a service dog puppy that's going to kind of cover everything from 8 weeks old to 16 weeks old or so, 16 to 5 months or so. And so confidence building is all about slow progression and small challenges that the dog can be successful at. So if it's noise, I might have him walk to start with on a cookie tin that's on carpet, and then put that cookie tin on hard floor, and then have him walk on aluminum foil. I'm slowly leveling up challenges. All right. I'm starting to train my own dog for a medical alert. Do you have any training videos or advice? What do I need to buy? So for medical, so I am not a So for those of you who are new here, I don't do scent training dogs. So like anything related to scent stuff, I understand how to do, but it's not something that I specialize in. So I don't tend to give advice on it. And I would direct you to other resources of what they specialize in. Because I think it's really important in dog training to know your lane and know what you're good at and not overshoot your skis. I don't know. There's some type of metaphor there. Okay, let's see. Got Montana. Woo, sorry, everyone's going too fast. We got a puppy. Can you teach more than one skill at a time? Like heel and sit, not together, but rotate one day. Yeah, actually, I recommend generally that you teach about 3 behaviors per session. So if I'm going to train in a 5-minute session, I'm going to do some type of warm-up behavior, and then I'm going to rotate 30 seconds to a minute with 3 different behaviors in some way, shape, or form. And then I'm going to do some type of fun cool down behavior like tugging or play or that kind of thing. But yes, you can teach multiple things at once. I try not to teach things that are similar at once. So like if I was teaching play dead and belly, so the dog is on its side versus belly up, so its feet are up, I'm not going to teach those in the same session because that's too confusing for the dog. I'll probably teach them each separately, like different times of the year, like a couple months in between. Okay, we got June from Orange County, Texas. Let's see. With Sophie, love it. Okay. How do I teach my dog to alert to leg shaking? I have anxiety and want him to alert. Great question. I have an entire course on that. So if you're new here, this is a good opportunity for me to talk about this. So I have a full course that gives you step-by-step instructions on how to teach your alerts specifically, and it specifically shows leg shaking. It also shows scratching, that kind of thing. But it's really step-by-step laid out. Like if you are a novice, it will help you get where you need to go. And it is Cool Whip's. It's Cool Whip's birthday on Sunday, so I'm thinking of offering a little bit of a discount on my courses for her birthday. So if that interests you, throw that in the comments, and I'll make that happen. I'm going to be away on a little trip with a bunch of other dog trainers this weekend, but I can probably make that happen before I go away because me and Cool Whip are going to the beach. So let's see. I'm thinking of owner training. This is from Rosie. I'm thinking of, I guess I should drop the link to my course. It's courses.doggyu.com. So that'll have my courses. It also has my free resource course there. I have if you're unfamiliar with the foundations of training skills, I have a totally free mini course there that you can sign up for by going to my newsletter. So if you go to doggyu.com and sign up for my newsletter, it'll send you a direct link to that course, and that will show you how to lure, capture, shape behavior, target, that kind of stuff. So it's a little primer. But then, I also have my Service Dog 101 course. So if you're just getting started, I've gotten really, really nice feedback on that one. So it would be a really good one if you're just starting your journey. And then the behavior interruptions and alerts course. Okay, so I'm thinking of owner training a service dog. What breed would you recommend? Looking for a dog 45 to 60 pounds. Rosie, you must be new to the channel. It's Labradors. It's always Labradors. I'm always recommending Labradors. And if you don't like Labradors because you don't like their short coat, then go out and get a golden. Now, all of this is to say that like there's a lot that goes into picking a breeder and a breed. And my blanket 90% of people will do best with a Labrador. Obviously not all people, but if you're looking for a 45 to 60 pound dog, a small female Labrador would be my general recommendation, not knowing anything about you. Because I work in, statistics, and they statistically just do better as service dogs. And that's not to discredit any other types of service dogs. Just, I always want people to be as successful as possible. Health tested, all that good stuff. I think I don't have to say that anymore. Cassie gets her first service dog prospect this week. Amazing. Oh my gosh, you guys are going so fast. I can't keep up. Boston and Chihuahua. See. I'm in Germany with a 1-year-old lab. Awesome. He'll start official service dog training in 15 months. Awesome. We're working with your Patreon bids and trainer in my ear. Awesome. And if any of you don't know about my Patreon, it's patreon.com/doggyu. It's only $4 to sign up at the lowest level, and that'll give you access to all of my previous posts and videos. The only thing that you need to be inner circle or higher for is for my deep dives. So you can check those out over there. There's also a free membership level. So if you just want to kind of see what Patreon is all about, there is some free stuff up there as well. And then if you go in at the crew level, you can ask me questions at a Q&A where I actually spend time getting ready for it. So I have a Q&A coming up next week. And in the difference between the Q&As here and the Patreon Q&As is that I prepare for them. So you have to submit your questions a few days in advance. And that way I can prepare like a well thought out answer and really get you the help that you need. Whereas here, I'm just trying to read through all these comments so quickly and they're coming so quickly. Okay, let's see. My assistance dog is copying my other reactive dog's behavior when he's around him. Do you know how I could stop him from doing this? Yeah, I wouldn't. I know this sounds like super curt, but I wouldn't have my other dog around him in situations where he's going to be reactive. So if my dog is becoming reactive, and it's my service dog, my first priority is making sure that I am training my dog to not become reactive. So whether that means I need to work them separately, I can't walk them together, whatever, my top priority is making sure that my service dog goes through and is able to do the things they need to do. So, this isn't reactivity, but here's an example of this that I've told you, a couple of you before, I think. But, when I got Cool Whip, who was not intended to be a service dog, but that doesn't matter for this, Jake has always had some car anxiety. And so for the first 6 months of having both of the dogs, they rode in separate cars. If we had to go places together, they were never in the same car together because I needed to make sure that she did not pick up on any of the anxiety that he had in the car. And so once, I was comfortable with how she was riding and that she was really comfortable in the car, then I started putting them together. But I spent 6 months, which was obviously annoying. It's definitely annoying, but it needed to be done to ensure that I didn't have two dogs that were anxious. And then I'd work on addressing the reactivity in the other dog as well. Okay, Sarah and Apollo from North Carolina. Any suggestions for defiant teenagehood? Hold on. Our pup is 9 months old and certainly hitting that stage where it seems to be refusing to do everything he's already been taught to do. Yeah, so basically, teenage stage is really hard, right? But in general, my thoughts on this are, if your dog is unable to do the things, they're telling you that they probably need a break. So what does that look like? That looks like you're training inside where there isn't as many distractions. You're playing a lot of games together. You are going hiking together. Like, you're doing just fun things that don't require a lot of the dog and don't require a lot of you, because it can be really frustrating when something's not going the way that you want. So I think it's always good to take a week or two off every so often with your dog. And your dog might be telling you that they need a week or two off right now. Hi there, I've been watching your videos to prepare for my puppy, which I just picked up last week. Awesome. And she's doing great. Yay, that's great. How do I work on duration in terms of sitting, waiting, and laying down? Yeah, so duration behavior, there's a lot of different ways to add duration to things. And one of the easier ones is to reinforce and then slowly increase the distance between reinforcement. That's kind of the easiest way to do it. I have a video on Patreon on doing a stand stay. So I'm training the stand stay that I think might be helpful here and showing how I train that behavior start to finish. The way that you don't need a stand stay, it says in here, but the way that you train a stand stay is the way that you train a stay, is the way that, like a sit stay is the way that you train a down stay. They're all pretty similar. Let's see. I'm a new handler and I get confused with prospect versus SDIT and what I should call her. Can you explain? Yeah, that's a good question. There is no like real definition, Taylor, on those things. I generally say prospect when it's a young puppy, and SDIT is generally like, there's no hard and fast, but after the dog's passed a CGC, a canine good citizen, I definitely call it a service dog in training. Typically before that, I'll generally call it a prospect, because a prospect to me hasn't really proven that it's like the in training for service dog work portion, but that's totally, anyone could argue that there is no real definition. How old do you have to be to have a service dog? No, there are no age restrictions. If you are under 18 and in high school, I would be consulting quite a bit with family, doctors, medical team, because having a service dog in high school, middle school is super complicated for a lot of reasons. So I'd be talking to a lot of people who have done that, pros and cons, that kind of thing. I don't specialize in service dogs for kids. I've trained a few of them and worked with kids in a school setting, and it's pretty tough. So, you don't want to go, you want to go in with that with eyes open. Do you need a scent specialist for anxiety, panic attack alert? depends what it really depends. So like if the only way that your dog is able to notice that you're having an anxiety attack, whatever, is there's no outward signs of it, then yes. And the science on that isn't there, even though people are still training for it. I'm just putting that as a precursor. But if you have a precursor, like your leg shaking, you're scratching, whatever it is, then it's not a scent-based skill. So, does do not pet still apply when your own service dog is at home and out of vest or harness? No. But that depends. So like whether or not your family, like, so what I used to do, for those of you who are new here, oh, it's a bee. Hey, buddy. So I used to do guide dogs, and I would have to do the transition between that 2-year-old dog who's trained into a new family member, and so into a new handler. And during that transitional period, the rest of the family would not, like, they'd spend time with the dog, but they're not playing with it, feeding it, doing anything like that, because we need to secure that bond. If you're struggling with the bond with your service dog, or struggling with other members of the household, like having more influence on the dog, then you may want to limit the activities that other members of the household do with the dog. Like, you should be doing all the fun stuff. But generally, like, anyone can play with my 8-year-old dog at home, and like out, and as long as she's not working, like, people will play ball with her. That's all fine, because we have a really good bond. For paw shaking, can you break down into smaller pieces, then build on that until the pup is offering the behavior? Does that make sense? Yeah, I actually have a full video on teaching paw with this like lovely bull terrier. If you look up Doggy U and paw, I'm sure it'll come up. I should really have someone like on here doing that for me, but I don't. So, it's just me. But I have a really great video on teaching that with a paw target, and then how to progress that. So I think if you look that up, it should be helpful. Oh, another Germany person. 3-year-old Australian Shepherd. Awesome. Oh no, I lost my spot. Oh my. Let's see. The course on alerts is awesome. Thank you, Erin. I appreciate that. Let's see. You inspired me to do a master's degree in animal-assisted therapy. I'm a psychologist, and your list of videos really helped me, because in my country, we don't have this kind of service. So thanks a lot. Yay! That's so awesome. That sounds really awesome. All right. I said awesome enough there. So like, I guess we'll move on. Joining from Georgia with my 1.5-year-old Great Dane. Awesome. How can I help get him used to unexpected loud sounds, like things crashing in a store? So here's the breakdown on dog training. Everything that I do in dog training is, let's take the smallest version of that thing and then build on it. So if my dog is struggling with unexpected sounds, I'm going to start with really low level unexpected sounds at home and pair that with something positive. This is also part of confidence building. So like, sometimes there's like a video on Patreon of my dog. I just gave her a pie tin, and she's got to like lick out of the pie tin, and it makes a lot of noise and blah, blah, blah. But you can do the same thing with, I also love this. There's this activity that I do, and like, it's like dog bowling, but basically I shape the dog. I call it touch the butt, because if you've ever seen Finding Nemo, and now I realize this like is mildly outdated, but whatever, it's my thing. In Finding Nemo, they go and like, they're like trying to go and touch the boat up there. So it's kind of like shaping. They're each getting closer and closer to where you want to go. And so you can do that same thing with shaping a dog to push over something that makes a loud sound, and then they feel like they have control over that sound, which can be really confidence building. So you can take an empty water bottle and then start filling that with rocks or pennies or whatever it is, and so they're pushing it over and making the noise themselves, and then they have control. So hopefully that helps. You want to start that at home, basically, is the answer to that question. Happy birthday, Cool Whip. Yeah, she's over here. I don't know if you can see it. She's having a little snacky, and then Jake's over in the shade because he's a southern dog. I think my computer is like gonna freak out because it's so hot right now. I can hear the fan running. Okay. Let's see. I'm interested in the courses, discount, and a bonus. Okay, so yeah, so if people are interested in the Cool Whip birthday discount, make sure you sign up for my newsletter, because that's where I'm going to put it. So it's going to be on my newsletter. If you go to doggyu.com, I'll put that in the chat, and then I'm sure I'm going to lose my space. If you go to doggyu.com, you can sign up for my newsletter. That's where you get notified every time I have a new video, but it's also where I send out my discounts and bonuses, and also discounts on my new courses that come out. So, could you make a video on how to take and store a proper scent sample? No, I'm not a scent trainer, but there are people that do that. So MD Dogs, they do diabetic alert dogs, but the way that you store a scent sample and all of that is pretty similar between all the things. So that would be one. And there's another, I can't think of it off the top of my head. There's another one that does scent training. I don't know. If anyone knows a good one, put it in the comments so everyone can benefit from it. Okay. Let's see. Is the same info from the courses available on Patreon? No. So the courses are very much like step by step. How do we do a thing? Here's like that, like exactly what to do. Well, Service Dog 101 isn't actually an overview of the laws, etiquette, that kind of stuff. But like behavior interruption alerts, my BIA course, is very much like lined up. Whereas Patreon is kind of more like a topic and like smaller versions of that topic. So I might show you, I'm training this specific dog. This is what we're training today. But it's not like a course where everything is lined up exactly what you should do. Now, the deep dives over on Patreon do have more instructional type topics. It kind of depends. Rosie said, thanks, that's so helpful. Labs are definitely on my list of options. Good. Yay. Yay. Labs are great. Yay. Okay, so I'm super behind, obviously, since we're still talking about labs in the comments here. All right. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to skip some of them because I'm like losing it. And I do actually have to go out and train a dog today. So, at what age can you tell that a dog is not suitable for public access service work? That's such a hard one. It so depends on the dog. Like you could know at like 4 months that the dog just isn't like the right fit, like for extreme cases of fear. But it also could be 2 years that, you're like, this dog is just not having a good time or they're struggling. And it's all about the dog, right? Like it's all about how the dog is feeling and like making sure that when we are asking our dogs to do things for us, that they're actually having a good time and enjoying themselves as well. For that, this is also where getting another opinion, a second opinion, is really good, so that you can get eyes on it, because we're not always capable of making objective choices for our animals. Let's see. You keep buffering on me. Can we watch this? Yes, it will be available after the fact for you to watch, for sure. How do you respond to a fake service dog comment? When I mentioned our service dog training, our confirmation teacher said to the class, you guys know how I feel about fake service dogs. Ooh, that's really ridiculous. Yikes. I would freaking get out of that class and not train with that trainer anymore. That is so ugly. Ick. Wow. I don't know how I would respond in the moment to that. Like, that's a super tough thing. And yikes. I mean, off the top of my head, I'd probably say something like, I'd really appreciate it if you didn't, negate my disability. Negate's not the right word, but now I'm having to come up with it off the top of my head, or something like that, and leave the class, because that is messed up behavior. Or you could talk to the trainer if it's a relationship you've had for a long. Oh my gosh, the sun's going away. Thank God. If it's a relationship you've had for a long time, talking to her after class about it, and how that's completely inappropriate behavior, especially from a trainer. Jeez. Let's see. When do you know when to give up on training? I've been working with a dog for over a year. Even though I worked with an SD organization, I feel she's just too energetic. So that might be like, it's hard, like not knowing your dog and your situation, but that might be a dog that it's maybe not the right fit for you. So if like they're doing really well, but they just have a lot of energy, that might be a mismatch of dog. So I would wonder, like, also, is there anything that you can do to help with that energy? But I meant lack of focus. Oh, okay. That's a little tough. I can't really probably answer that without knowing the dog. That would be something that I would be asking the organization a bit about. It says that you worked with an organization. So let's see. Got someone from Spain. Hey, Spain. Let's see. A friend got a new puppy to be trained as their service dogs. You can work through fear, as I did with my poodle. Was very shy. It takes a lot of work and positive reinforcement. Yeah, you can definitely work through some fears, but sometimes you can't. Like, it's like, it really is dependent on dogs, and sometimes you shouldn't. Like, there's some stuff that can be worked through, but what I generally say about a service dog is they are not a project dog. So if your dog is showing consistent signs of, aggression, reactivity, that all of those things, like, Can you work through it? Maybe, but probably not to the point with that they're reliable in unreliable circumstances for some things. So yes, can you work through some things? Sure. And then also there's some things that should not be worked through or can't not be worked through to the capacity that it should be worked through for a service dog. So Caitlin said she left immediate and wouldn't go back. Yeah. And if it's that person's business, I would write them a letter about that too. Or if that is someone who's being hired by another business, then I would be writing a strongly worded letter, I guess. All right, I'm going to go back up to some of these other questions. Laura, how do you go about getting into more advanced obedience with a young dog and starting to build on the 3Ds? Yeah, so everything that we can start in the home, right? So when we're talking about building a skill, I'm going to build a skill in the home in a not very distracting environment, and then I'm going to take it to different locations outside of my home to build on that skill, and then I'm going to add distraction to my skill inside the house first. So I'm going to build on, I'm going to, okay, maybe I was doing it in a pretty low distraction room, but now I'm going to do it with my cat in the same, I don't have a cat, but my cat in the same room, my kids playing on the floor, food on the floor, that kind of thing, and start leveling it up inside and then leveling it up outside. As far as distance goes, I taped a video this morning that I'm super excited about. It'll be out next Friday. I have a new like fun tool to use for building distance for things. So stay tuned for next Friday. There's a little teaser for you of a little product that I found that I'm super stoked about. Okay. Oh, earlier when this person was talking about paw shaking, I was trying to help give a suggestion on shaping the behavior. Gotcha. Okay. My service dog is reactive to other dogs when at home, but not away from home. Oh, like they're barking out the window situation? Yeah. So you can train things and you can manage them. And the easiest thing to do is put up the shading on your windows. Like it's like that clear, it's not clear, it's like opaque plastic cling stuff that you can put on your windows and like eliminate the problem. And that's what I would probably do at home because I don't train things that I don't need to. But you could also only open the windows when you're in, like open the blinds when you're interested in training, and then sit with your dog, mark and reward for looking at the dog without barking, and then eventually the dog becomes the cue to go find you. Yeah. Okay. On reactivity, I live alone out in the country in an isolated area, so it makes sense to have my dog alert bark, but because that provides for safety, but then sometimes she does alert bark in public. Yeah, so then you need to work on it in public. So Whip will 100% bark if like there's a package coming up our driveway. So I live in the woods, obviously, and because you can see the woods, and I have a long driveway, and if a package comes up the driveway, she's gonna bark. That's fine with me, right? But I also spend a lot of time when she was younger marking and reinforcing not barking at other things in public. So it's just, I think dogs are totally able to understand the difference between being at home and being at work. Yeah. Let's see. My dog runs and hides when I bring her harness out. She's perfect when in public. However, she shakes frequently in public. I assume this is from anxiety. Yeah, so that sounds like your dog might not be having a really good time in public there. So if your dog is shaking or wailing or panting, all of those things, it means that we need to take a step back in training and make them more comfortable in lower difficulty public settings. Good, now the sun goes away. First, and it sounds like your dog may be sensitive in general if we've got a problem where you're hiding to bring the harness out. So the hiding from the harness, I don't know if that's a specific service dog harness and they're telling you they don't want to go out in public and do public things, or if they generally just are gear sensitive. I do have a video if you look up Doggy U and gear sensitive dogs or something like that. The video on how to shape a dog to want to go through a harness is absolutely on there. All right. Oh, I got someone from Ukraine. Planning to come to the United States. I have a panic attack. Let's see. Okay, so I don't take private clients right now, and I don't do. Sorry, Yulia, I'm just reading your whole thing in the chat here. I don't have a ton of experience doing international travel. I just don't do it myself very often, so I'm probably not the right person for that. That would have to be someone who's a little bit more specialized in international travel. Um, I wonder. I'm trying to think of what resources I could send you to. I bet that Cooperative Paws has a lot more stuff on international service dog law and that kind of thing. So that might be the person that I would reach out to. Okay, I was at our local obedience. No, unfortunately, I'm not taking any. So someone asked if it's possible to have a one-on-one with me. Unfortunately, I'm not taking any clients right now. I pretty much all of my time is spent making the resources that I do between Patreon and YouTube. It just takes a long time to film, and I do everything myself. So, yeah. So I'm not taking private clients. I would. There's a couple of different people that you could reach out to. So Cooperative Paws would be one of them. Donna Hill has really good courses that you could take, and she also does one-on-ones. Feel free to, if anyone has any people they really like for service dog stuff that are taking clients right now, feel free to drop those in the chat. Let's see. If you have a pet dog that lacks confidence and has some reactivity issues, will a service dog prospect help that dog, or will the dog make the service dog nervous in public? The pet dog will make the service dog nervous in public. No, I mean that not necessarily, right? Like it really depends on the situation, but in general, you want to think about adding a dog to your family, like whatever the worst thing the dog that already is at home does, that the other dog will mimic that behavior. So you want to train through the stuff that you need to with the current dog before adding another dog. It's the same reason that I was talking about before why I didn't put Whip in the car with Jake when she was a puppy, because I don't want any of that behavior to catch on. So yeah, it is more likely that the new dog will catch on to the other dog's behavior than the opposite way around, for sure. Or they could not be affected by it, but that rarely happens. Let's see. I heard someone say that they do not have a formal under command, and could you get by without a formal cue for backing up? And also, what about weight? I guess my question would be why. Like if I want my dog to down and under, I would teach them to down and under and have a cue for that. And if I want them to back up, I would have a cue for that. You may like what might be happening is you have a cue, you just don't that person just doesn't know what that cue is. So like for instance, a lot of people teach backing up with pressure. I teach it with a back foot target, but a lot of people will walk on the dog backs up. So and then you take the pressure off, the dog gets reinforced because you took the pressure off. And so in that case, your body your body presence is the cue to back up, right? So there probably is a cue. They just aren't calling it with a word. So yeah. So if I needed my dog to do something, I would train it and put it on cue. Let's see. I really like your videos. They confirm my training experience. Thanks so much. Awesome. So it might not be a verbal cue. That's what she meant by no formal command. That's probably what it is. And what about weight? Yeah. So, I mean, same thing. Like if you have like people who don't have a word for weight, a verbal cue for weight, usually do have a body cue. So like they'll stand in front of the door with their butt to the door and like kind of like be a bigger presence for that dog. And the dog's like, oh, when she does that, I have to wait until she opens the door or else she slams the door on me. That's a lot of times how people train weight. So that's not how I train weight, but you know. So you are probably cueing the dog. You just aren't putting it on a verbal cue. Let's see. Do you know any books or resources that can give more information about teaching your dog scent detection? Yes. So is it Rita? I'm gonna mess up the names. I'm so bad with names. I'm so sorry. Is it Rodriguez? I'm trying so hard to think of this book that I read such a long time ago. I think it's called My Diabetic Alert Dog or something like that. So that's one of them. I know that MD Dogs has resources. I think they have an entire book on that. who else? Oh my gosh, I'm so bad with names. It's awful. Debbie K has a course on scent training for that. I'm not going to tell you, like, do your own research about what is the right fit for you and what's a good course. I'm just giving you some people that train that type of thing. Thank you. I am going to also butcher this name, but Kaskalaka, Loka. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. I'm sorry that I messed up your name. Let's see. If anyone needs a trainer in the vicinity of Albuquerque, Paige Potter is your girl. That's gal. Awesome. Let's see. Is there a set time schedule for training? Like, oh my gosh, it's already 1:12. Okay. Is there a set time schedule for training? Like, by 6 months old, my dog should have X knowledge, and if they don't, that you give up or push forward. No, definitely not. Every dog is different. Like, that's why everyone will always be like, okay, what do you train first? And then what do you train for this? And it's like, I train based on what the dog needs. So if the dog needs a confidence boost and they're particularly good at a certain thing, I'm going to spend more time on that. So there isn't like a set of skills. In general, like, see, I don't want to like prescribe anything because I don't think it's fair to the dog to say like you have to have these things done. It's having the dog, like, teaching obedience skills, teaching tasks, like, that's like the small part of the thing. The public access part is the part, right? Like, so if your dog isn't having a good time in public and they're showing you in multiple ways, like, hey, this just like isn't for me, that's what I'd be truly looking at versus does my dog know how to downstay at a parade? Those things are teachable, whereas the public stuff is where we're looking. Super. Oh, Rusty, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let's see. I have a few fractured vertebrae and can't bend over. I use a long-handed tool to pick up waste at home. How do I clean up waste in public, like between the car and a restaurant? So you could bring your grabber tool out in public. The other thing that people will do is I did guide dogs, right? So you can actually, you can buy a thing that goes on your dog's butt and then they poop into the bag on their butt and then it doesn't even hit the ground and you just pull the bag off. So that might be an option. Also, and I know this is kind of an outside the box thing, but whatever. I live in a van half the time. And that's not true. Not half the time. That's an exaggeration. Let me take that back. I like to travel in vans. And when I do that, I have a water pump. And what you might be able to do is get a tool for picking it up and then wash it off before you put it in your car. Or have a thing on the outside of your car that can store the stuff you use to clean up poop, would be my thoughts. But if anyone else has other thoughts, feel free to throw them out there. Let's see. Crystal's saying that you should offer the dog a treat and have them follow the harness. So that would definitely be like if the dog doesn't have a lot of fear of harnesses. However, many of the dogs that are gear shy, we want to build their confidence around gear and not just lure them through the thing. So we want them to choose to put their head through. And that's why I use the method that I do in the video about gear shy dogs, because I want my dog to have agency and control over putting that harness on. And when we teach them to do it and then make it their idea, it's going to build a positive association versus sometimes dogs, when they're lured to do a thing, and it's especially a thing that they don't like, they can either go off the food, right? Because they're like, no, every time she brings that special treat out, it means something I don't like is going to happen. Or it could mean that, I lost my train of thought. My brain. So with treating them through the harness, they can get close enough, like, so they get to go get the treat, but something they don't like is still happening. So instead, we want to train their conditioned emotional response to the harness instead. Let's see. We go car camping all over the country. Your tour was fun to follow. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So I am a big car camper. I'm actually camping next week. I'll be in the SUV for a couple of nights probably. So big car camper as well. And I have also some big plans on the horizon. So I'll be talking about those eventually. Do you have tools or tips that help shield your dog from the owner's anxiety? I keep getting told to just calm myself down. Yeah, that works great. Yeah, I love when people tell you, just calm down. It's fine. Just calm down. No big deal. Which I'll definitely try right after just be happy. That's hilarious, Ash. I'm sorry. Yes, been there so much. So yes, I do have tips for that. it is really hard to raise your own psych dog. And I want to say that not to discourage you from raising your own psych dog, but when you are emotionally having a difficult time, it can go on the dog. So choosing the right dog is important, first of all, but there's stuff. Whip is over it and she wants to play. So I'm going to answer this question and then I'm going to peace out. And I also have to go train a dog. So basically, there's a couple things that you can do, particularly emotional experiences. So for instance, I really struggle at grocery stores. I'm getting my new puppy. I already have a trainer that's going to help me with those particular instances that I struggle at, and she's going to be the one that introduces the dog to those things so that my emotions about the situation don't rub off on the dog. I may go with her, but she's going to be the handler, right? So that's one way you can do it. Also, if you're having acute situations, I highly recommend, especially with young dogs, that you have treats scattered around the house or on you. And when you're having a particularly acute incident, you throw food on the ground, cookie scatter on the ground. So you're helping the dog associate, okay, this thing is a little scary, but like when she does this, she throws a handful of treats for me to pick up. That's what I'm personally capable of doing, not much else. And so Whip is just leaving balls for me to get. So I'm leaving the screen so I can throw a ball for my dog. So that's one way that you can counteract it. And then getting support when you need it and keeping when you're having a particularly tough time, this is where a support system where you can get a dog walker to come take your dog for you, and just not putting all of the stuff on your dog when they're super young is important. So whatever your coping mechanisms were before the dog, you need to be utilizing those until your dog is mature. Okay, that is all I have time. Oh, my dog and I are cycling. I'm just going to read fun ones now. My dog and I are cycling and we'll go to camping next week. Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Oh, in the UK. Pads. Oh, I feel like I might know that situation. But yeah. Okay, so I gotta go train a dog, and my dog wants to play a little ball before I do that. So thank you all for being here. If you haven't joined my newsletter, doggyu.com, join the newsletter. I will try and get a special happy birthday Cool Whip coupon out for my courses. Also, if you haven't yet, hit that like button so that other people can find this. You will be able to rewatch it. And and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. And let's see. Thank you so much. I'm happy that my joke made you laugh. Yeah, that was a good one. I'm going to call that one the joke of the day, Ash. That's a good one. Just calm down. Just don't be depressed. Oh, man. People are fun. All right. Bye, y'all. Happy training.